Welcome to an episode of Left Undone Incomplete Investigations. I'm Catherine. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you will get notified when I add new material. Like I said, we've been following this Lori Vallow case as deep as we possibly can and as often as we possibly can, and we're going to follow it till there's nothing left to follow. So please follow Left Undone. You will get all the information that's out there as fast as I can possibly make it happen. Today, we're going to talk about some information that I was given about the church, the firstborn, how it might be related to Lori's belief system, and why people move to Rexburg, according to Lori's belief system, and also the craziness that was just released by Justin Lum, Box 10 Phoenix, about the fact that Lori got into Charles's insurance policy and changed his password. So Lori's a conniving, as we know, as conniving as they can be. And this isn't new for Lori. Hopefully, this just means that things are coming tumbling down on Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. And I am completely impatient. I also want to cover a little bit about the Daybell adult children. And something that I found that sort of sent me down a rabbit hole that might explain why they are so, as we put it in our chat on Saturday, the 18th of April, 2020, brainwashed by their father and the belief system that he seems to have. So welcome to Left Undone Incomplete Investigations. I'm Catherine, and this is part 56.
Before Charles Vallow was shot and killed, I've obtained emails from Charles himself accusing his wife at the time, Lori Vallow, of locking him out of his own account. He got the change and ultimately removed her as beneficiary. At the center of this bizarre saga surrounding Lori Vallow will always be her missing kids, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. JJ's grandma, Kay Woodcock, says her brother Charles, JJ's adoptive father, confided in her. He said his wife Lori didn't want to deal with their autistic son anymore.
We couldn't believe it, but as time progressed, absolutely we knew that she was off.
By February 26, 2019, Charles filed for divorce and discovered his life insurance policy had been hacked. This email from Charles to Banner Life Insurance says a password was placed 6 days prior and not by him. He requested an investigation into his, quote, soon-to-be ex-wife Lori, saying she threatened his life within the last month. Charles wanted to name his sister Kay as beneficiary.
Because he knew I would do things the way he asked, and that his boys, all three of them, would be taken care of in a way that Charles asked me to do so.
It took an official letter to Banner and a notarized beneficiary change form to give Charles access to his policy again. In the letter, Charles also asked for any caller transcript linked to Lori, suspecting her of the password change. In an email Kay was CC'd on, Charles named her as beneficiary so she could use the money to take care of JJ if anything happened to him. Quote, I want nothing to go to Lori or any member of her family. Kay believed in her brother's concern.
She told people that I've spoken with that Charles was going to be dead any day.
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors took us.
Then July 11th came. Chandler police say Alex Cox, Lori's brother, shot Charles to death in self-defense during a fight. The case is still being investigated, and Alex is now dead. By the end of August, Lori moved JJ and Tylee to Rexburg, Idaho, shortly before marrying Chad Daybell, the doomsday author family members of Charles say he warned them about before his death.
It just made it more and more real to him that she was done with him, with their relationship, and that she was done with being a mom.
Back in Rexburg, Lori is in jail waiting for her bond reduction hearing set for April 24th. She's accused of 2 counts of felony child abandonment. Meanwhile, the Idaho Attorney General is investigating her and Chad Daybell for conspiracy, attempted murder, and or murder linked to Chad's first wife, Tammy, who died in October. In Phoenix, Justin Lum, Fox 10 News.
Lori allegedly went into Charles' life insurance policy and changed the password. If this doesn't, this stuff is, this is all piling up so deep. I'm still amazed that these charges haven't been brought up yet. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I'm just impatient, I suppose. But what in the heck? More and more and more tidbits come out every single day, week, that makes Lori look more and more like she planned Charles' murder. The children are still missing, and luckily Lori's in jail, but I'm kind of tired of seeing Chad walking around town, you know? So Charles sent this to Kay, or he CC'd Kay. He sent this to Banner Life Insurance, where he had his life insurance policy. And it says, Banner Life Insurance Policy ID theft. I just tried to change my beneficiary on my life policy to my sister. I was notified by the insurance company that a password was placed on the account on February 20th. This would be February 20th, 2019. Now remember, Charles was shot in July of 2019. They are doing an investigation, and I will lull the voice recording. I assure you it was Lori. I will update you with the findings. I've been locked out of my own life insurance policy until further notice. If anything should happen to me before I get all this fixed, my beneficiary is Ethel Kathleen Woodcock, my sister. She will use it to take care of JJ. I want nothing to go to Lori or any member of her family. Sincerely, Charles Vallow. I mean, clear as, I mean, goodness gracious, Charles knew how dangerous, obviously, how dangerous Lori was and could be. So if you go to Justin Lum Fox 10 Phoenix Facebook page, he has all these documents on there. On February 26, 2019, Charles asked Banner Life Insurance to investigate his soon-to-be ex-wife, Lori Vallow, for changing his password to his $1 million life insurance policy. He did not change the PIN, and it was changed. The password was placed on 2/20/2019. This is less than a month after he tried to have Lori committed to mental health. So remember her little nice fun meeting with the police there? This was soon after that. Soon after her meeting with the police, Lori went in and changed Charles' password on his life insurance policy. And they had just filed for divorce, or he had just filed for divorce and filed a protection order against Lori. And we know that Charles was, in fact, shot and killed by Alex Cox. And he did on February 26th. There's some stuff redacted here, but it does say, Mr. Vallow, please complete the attached forms and have the beneficiary change form notarized for validation of signature. Additionally, please send a letter signed and dated indicating that you did not place a password on your policy and we will have it removed. Please return this information directly to me for prompt processing. And that was from the manager, customer support, and premium administration, with their name and everything on there, legal and general. And initially what the note was, my name is Charles Vallow, and I bought the Banner Life policy a few years ago and have the payment drafted from my account ending in blah. I spoke with blank, and he could not authenticate the password listed on my account. He said one was placed on February 20th, 2019. It was not by me. I requested an investigation as I believe it's my soon-to-be ex-wife who fraudulently placed a password on the account. I want to change the beneficiary to my sister, Ethel Kathleen Woodcock. I have an order of protection against Lori Vallow as she has physically threatened my life in the past 30 days. Please get back to me at my new phone number. My old number was blank. My new address is blank. Please get with me as soon as possible. Sincerely, Charles Vallow. Dear blank, recently someone called in your office on February 20th, according to blank, and set a pin on my account. It was not me or anyone I asked to do this. I suspect it was my soon-to-be ex-wife, Lori Vallow. If I can get a copy or transcript recording of the call, it would help my legal matter with her. I have enclosed the notarized change of beneficiary form and change of address. I did not place a pin on my account, but once this is settled, I would like to do so. I would like only Ethel K. Woodcock, Nicholas Vallow, or Zachary Vallow to have access to this policy information. Please confirm receipt of this email as I will FedEx the original today. Sincerely, Charles Vallow. We also know that we've already talked about this, that Lori's attorney filed a subpoena for the Idaho Attorney General to produce all records regarding the investigation into Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow for conspiracy, attempted murder, or murder. Communications include blogs, podcasts, voicemails, texts, also request records on Tammy Daybell's death, including pending autopsy. Mark Means' attorney wants all listed documents and records by May 6th. I mean, goodness gracious, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. This is more obvious to me than anything. There's so much circumstantial evidence here that Charles was premeditated. I'm just still amazed that this is just dragging on like this. Just amazed. I know we need to have patience. I get it. I'm not a police officer, investigator, detective, crime specialist, but it's really getting old that Chad's still walking around. And I know everything that Lori has done, I would guarantee Chad either knew about, agreed about, or turned a blind eye to it purposely. That's my opinion. This woman here is posting a lot of information about the case, and apparently she is directly involved with Charles and his business partner, Mike. So she had said, he had, excuse me, this text message apparently was from Mike saying Lori claimed Charles Vallow was cheating on her. She was the one cheating. She also stole thousands of dollars from me and subagents. I hope she gets what she deserves. And the Janet here says they're going to charge her with accessory to crime. She lied and said she was not there, and she was. Alex lies also. He said no one was there when he shot Charles. Tylee was there when Charles was, I'm assuming he said shot. But the comments here are actually pretty interesting. Let's just go down them. So this Janet says, now all this stuff is public, and she is talking publicly about this case on her personal Facebook. It looks like it's her personal Facebook. It says, how I wish they would call him in as a witness to all he has seen out of Lori. He knows the real Lori. He has said to me Lori stalked Charles for 4 years and could get nothing on him. Charles was not a cheater. Then she says, him being Mike. So Mike is Charles's business partner. And then somebody says, yes, I wish prosecution could call him as a character witness for both Charles and Lori. And Annie Cushing is following this, and she says, so did Lori return any of the $35,000 she siphoned from the company? Janet says, no. Mike has pressed charges. Mike said it was actually more like 100,000 when you add it all up. Comments, wow, unreal. And she had to, and so this other person posts, she had no job, so no way she paid anything back. Then the Janet says to him, Charles was trying so hard to save the marriage. He begged Mike not to do anything. Lori would not want Mike to walk into a courtroom. And then she says, if you note on the message from Mike, she also took money from not just him and Charles, but the sub-agents as well. It ended up being quite a lot of money. She also says Lori also took money from sub-agents who worked with Charles and Mike, and it ended up being a lot of money, Annie. Annie says, unbelievable. Must be convenient to not be tormented by a conscience like the rest of us mere mortals. Janet says, Annie, you have said it so well. When a person has killed as many as Lori has been involved with and gotten by, it's obvious Lori had no conscience. She will do anything to get what she wants. Look at how many times she has demanded her bond to be reduced, and stupidly, the judge gives in. She keeps getting her way. I pray this judge has morals and cares about JJ and Tylee, not Lori in a cell. And Annie says, everyone has said this judge is tough but fair. There's no way she's getting it reduced. No way. Someone else says, Lori has destroyed and hurt so many people. I wish they could all tell their stories in court. She said, I wonder if Chad helped Lori spend all that money she took from Charles' company. And Janet says, I read somewhere they was trying to get money to start up a church. Charles mentioned Lori was dumping a lot of money in the cult Lori had become a party to. Charles and the Bishop Gabe called it a cult in the counseling meeting with Gabe. I noted also in the older lady's definition of the group that it had been posted on here. The lady called it a cult too when she was interviewed. Someone said Kay is the one who started calling Chad's group a cult. Yes, she did after she shared it with us. One cannot call it a religion after reading the rules that came off Ian's laptop that Brandon gave to law enforcement. Something else I noted in her interview, the woman said the cult was no more in existence. What happened to it? Chad and Jason Mal got found out. She says, another reply, I think you're right, Janet. When Chad and Jason got found out, the others went their own way. Bishop Gabe has really had me bothered. I hope law enforcement really investigated him also. Then another reply, does anyone in Charles' family still have anything to do with the company? Has your friend Mike talked with law enforcement about any of this mess? And then she says, oh, sorry, I was out. So she was busy, I guess. Sorry, I've been out with my gran before she leaves to go back to her apartment 3 days, enjoying our last moments. And then she said, I will ask Mike. As far as I know, Mike is running the business. It was something Charles and Mike developed together. Charles would explain it to me. It has to do with retirement, but the dividend paid out better than other retirements do. I will text him now and come back to you later. I did ask Mike to readdress this with law enforcement. He told me they have copies of everything. If they have questions, they can address it with him. Then someone said, thank you so much. Enjoy your time with your grand. Just wondered if it's somehow they managed to get Lori out of it. And then she says, I know for a fact Lori's not part of the company. Interesting, right? There's stuff going on that we have not even heard about yet. Wanted to explain to me something that people have been asking, and I didn't have a good answer for it, but now I think we do. She explained this to me. She said, everyone keeps wondering why Lori and everyone else went to live in Rexburg. On AVOW, remember, another voice of warning, AVOW, that was run by Christopher, right? Christopher Parrott. On AVOW, Christopher told everyone years ago that Rexburg was supposed to be a safe place when all the tribulations spoken of in Isaiah start taking place. They knew this because of dreams and visions of a lot of people. There is a huge cult, Church of the Firstborn, following up there. Julie Rowe went there to teach her energy healing and give seminars about what is coming. One time she offered one of Chad's neighbors money to buy their house. They told her they were not in the market to sell. This story was on a YouTube channel done by two girls. I don't subscribe to their channel, and I can't find it right now. I will find it on Monday if you want. So I will look for that too as well. These girls went to Rexburg and spoke to neighbors of Chad. I think it was these girls that said that Christopher had secret meetings in his house once a week. Everyone keeps quiet because they don't want to lose their membership in the LDS church. They believe the LDS church teachings, but believe that they have been given more and are baptized into this new church of the firstborn. They believe this is the next step. They practice energy healing and have visits from the other dark side. Just my opinion. Julie does talk a lot about being attacked by the dark side. I don't pretend to know what goes on in their meetings. I really don't know, but I assume they are studying all of the things that was laid out by Ian Pulowski. Someone said today that Christopher and Ian both work at Melilaka together. I have never heard that. I thought Christopher only did AVAL. Maybe it's his son Christopher that works with Ian. They both have the same name. I think Ian knew all about this church they belonged to and was a member. Don't think Lori's niece, Melanie, would have married him. That is why she left her first husband. He wouldn't go along with the teachings. In quotes, I bet. I don't think Ian is innocent. If you know the name of the YouTube channel done by the two girls, let me know and I will find a place where they talk about Rexburg. This is certainly an interesting case, and I have never seen so many people involved in one case before. I certainly hope that the kids and Tammy get justice. You're doing such a great job filling us all in on the news. Thank you. So let's look a little bit into Melilaqua and see what's happening. And this supposedly is where Ian works and possibly Christopher Parrott or his son. Now, this is a wellness company in the United States based out of Idaho. The CEO is Frank L. Vandersloot. He is in Idaho Falls since the company began in September of 1985. Frank has led the company to become an international company that generates more than $2 million in an annual revenue. I am going to look up to see if Ian had a profile up on LinkedIn, and he does. And he has his resume on here. And it does show here experienced customer care supervisor at Melilaqua, the wellness company, from May of 2012 to the present. So that is true then. Nothing super interesting on the resume, but just his history. So we all know that Chad and Lori initially have identified themselves as LDS, but we also know that they've got a wacky belief system. And I went down the rabbit hole a little bit to see why his kids might be so brainwashed or convinced that their way is the right way. And I just want to show you something that I found that seems a little bit similar. This woman here, Anna LeBaron, How I Escaped My Father's Murderous Polygamous Cult. And this is from the BBC News, Washington, D.C. But I just want you to listen to this, and then we can go over it a little bit more, and you can tell me what you think. But this is a little bit of a video about her.
We were taught to live in awe of him as the one true prophet on earth. And we were also taught that we were celestial children, having been born from the prophet Orville Baron. Even though we were treated so poorly, we still believe we were celestial children.
Anna LeBaron's father was one of the most infamous cult leaders in American history. He was the self-proclaimed prophet of the Church of the Lamb of God, a fundamentalist offshoot of the Mormon faith. The followers of Orville LeBaron believed he was receiving his instructions directly from God. These included orders to kill anyone who challenged Orville's position as the one true prophet. As a result, Anna grew up on the run from the law.
We were taught that we were being persecuted because we were God's chosen people. And that was what they used to explain all the moving in the middle of the night and staying ahead of the law.
Anna spent a miserable childhood being shuttled from one overcrowded safe house to the next, often in the company of her 49 siblings and some of Erville's 13 sister wives.
The young girls were groomed to become wives of polygamous men that already had wives. We were groomed to accept that. And in our family, some as early as 15, 16, 17 years old would be married into families that were already polygamous. So when I escaped at age 13, I kind of escaped by the skin of my teeth.
What the young Anna didn't know was that her father, whom she only met on a handful of occasions, was wanted for orchestrating a string of murders, starting in 1972 with the killing of his older brother, Joel. Joel was the leader of a rival polygamous sect based in Mexico, who refused to accept Erville's claim to be the one true prophet sent to earth to purify the Mormon faith.
We had threatening letters coming from Erville and the Church of the Lamb of God, his followers. So we were warned constantly.
Ruth Warrener is Joel LeBaron's youngest daughter.
I remember my mom telling us when we were growing up that if we heard gunshots or bombs exploding, that I needed to pick up my baby brother and take him into the peach trees around our property and hide. And we knew that he was threatening to kill other members of our church, and in fact had several of them killed.
The FBI finally caught up with Erville LeBaron in 1979, and he died in prison 2 years later. But his reign of terror was far from over, as crime reporter Mike Carter explained to a BBC documentary crew.
Erville wrote a book of new covenants, he calls them. What it essentially is, it's a hit list of people who Erville felt had betrayed him, had abandoned the church, had abandoned his teachings.
In June 1998, Erville's remaining followers carried out his deadly orders.
4 people were murdered in separate attacks within 15 minutes. In Houston, Mark Shinoff was shot dead behind the counter of his second-hand store.
We have been told by several persons that he was a member of some type of a fraternal organization.
2 of his brothers were killed in the other shootings.
The 4 o'clock murders, as they became known, shocked America. For Anna, who had broken away from her father's church with the help of Mark Shinoff, the pain is still too much to bear. At one time, Shinoff had been amongst Erville's most fanatical followers, and is alleged to have been involved in some of the cult's atrocities. But that was not the man Anna knew.
Mark was a kind man, and I don't believe for 1 minute that he'd grown up in a normal family setting, that he would have done any of the things that he was accused of on his own. He was a good father to his children. Losing him was very difficult under the circumstances that we lost him.
Like Ruth Warrener, Anna has spent years in therapy trying to heal her shattered life. She's also turned her back on polygamy. The 2 women met for the first time in 2015, when Ruth published a memoir, The Sound of Gravel. Here's Ruth again.
Because we shared that history, there was an instant bond. She's 3 years older than I am, so obviously it wasn't her fault that my dad was killed.
6 cult members, including some of Anna's own siblings, were eventually jailed over the 4 o'clock murders. Now, after more than 20 years, Anna believes that the bloodletting and the feuding is finally at an end. And with the publication of her own memoir, The Polygamist's Daughter, she and her siblings can finally step out from the long dark shadow cast by their father.
How I am is a direct result of experiencing freedom from the control that my father imposed on myself and everybody else. Having that freedom to become who I am and who I was naturally, and that self-expression that I've learned, that's been part of the healing journey for me. That's been the most fun part of it all, is that even though that life could have crushed who I am in my spirit, that's not been the last story. I kind of get to have the final word here in saying, this is who I am.
So even though we're not talking about polygamists as far as we know, this Anna LeBaron, her father Everell, he was a leader of a huge cult. And there are a lot of similarities, which makes me go, okay, you know what? You actually, as a parent, have so much influence over children. And, some of them are willing to get out and figure out what's going on themselves. And other ones just absorb it and believe that this is what normal is. And like she says, we were taught to live in awe of him as a God's prophet, as the one true prophet on earth, she says. So they were taught that their father was the one true prophet on earth. She said, we were taught that we were celestial beings. Sounds a little familiar, right? Having been born from the prophet Avril LeBaron. And she said, we believed it. Even though we were treated very poorly, we believed this, that we were celestial children and our father was just this prophet, the one true prophet. She never even really spent time with her father. She said there were 50 children and 13 wives, but they were completely brainwashed into believing that this was who they were and who he was. She says he used fear to manipulate and control people. And she said they were absolutely afraid of not doing what they were told. And she said they never had a voice. Now, this I find interesting. She said, we were taught we were being persecuted because we were God's chosen people, and that the world outside didn't understand us. I can see Lori having this mentality right now. I'm being persecuted. I'm the chosen people. Media called him the Mormon Manson. They do believe he ordered murders of dozens of people, and he was expelled in the 1950s from the LDS Church because he practiced polygamy, but it ended in 1890. He was wanted for a string of murders in Mexico and in the U.S. And he didn't really get involved in the violence himself, but he ordered his followers to kill anyone, including one of his own wives and two of his children, or anyone who challenged his position as God's representative on earth, or who threatened to leave the cult and complain to the authorities. And then his followers believed he was receiving instructions directly from God, having inherited the mantle of prophet from his father, Alma Dayer LeBaron. And his brothers also had at one time or another claimed to be God's sole representative on earth. So he actually wound up kicking his brother out and basically took over. Avril had initially been a follower of his older brother, Joel, but they clashed over Avril's money-making schemes, including a plan to transform Los Molinos, the modest Mexican settlement, where the sect's 200 or so followers had set up home, into a beach resort. So Joel kicked Avril out of the Church of the Firstborn of the Fullness of Time in 1970. Avril started his own sect of the Church of the Lamb of God and set about eliminating his rivals starting in 1972. So he used a long-abandoned Mormon doctrine called blood atonement, which sanctions the killing of sinners to cleanse them of evil. Avril could claim he was doing his ever-growing list of victims a favor by allowing them to enter heaven. God would reveal to Avril the next victim, and he would handpick a team of disciples to carry out the hit. Okay, so, right? This sounds a lot like Lori and Chad's, or Lori especially. We haven't been able to reach much into Chad's brain, but I'm sure it's exactly similar. I would think it was very similar. But God would reveal to him the next victim, and he would handpick a team of disciples to carry out the hit. And the murder plots grew increasingly sophisticated, involving wigs, makeup, all that kind of stuff. And you were not allowed to refuse Avril's command. And then when the people did defy it, they paid for it with their lives. So he was eventually captured by the Mexican police, handed over to the FBI in 1979. And he was later jailed for life, orchestrating the murder. Okay. He died in Utah State Prison in 1981. But his reign of terror wasn't over. So this guy, even from the grave, was able to have followers that went ahead and do his dirty, do these murders and stuff. So I received an email from one of my sources, and she enlightened me a little bit about some of the thoughts that go on in these people. And she said in one of Julie Rowe's videos, she said that there are several different groups. Church of the Firstborn. In one of Julie Rowe's videos, she said there are several different groups, Church of the Firstborn, throughout the country. Julie lives in Missouri, and she does have a huge following there. And there's also a group in Arizona, Utah, and Idaho. And they all have different leaders. These groups all have a different purpose. Now, the purpose of Chad's group, that Chad is the head of, they control the weather and elements and something to do with music. That's why Zulema is in their group, is what I'm being told. She supposedly has some control of the weather and elements. And remember, after she married Alex in Las Vegas, Ian made a point of saying that they stayed there to work on the earthquakes. And this all was on one of Julie Rowe's podcasts. I haven't listened to it specifically, but I've been told it's there somewhere. I'm not a big Julie Rowe listener. We have listened to her here and there, though, for sure. But I did not hear this stuff. And then the other thing that was brought to my attention was something kind of strange. This message keeps being posted all over the place. It has been posted on my comments on my channel and more than once. And other people are having it posted in different type of forums. And it is the message that says, and you can look back on my comments. I can't tell you exactly where it is, but it was also it's been floating around out there. It really has. And it is on one of my videos. And I honestly can't tell you which one, but I did find it somewhere else too. So I thought, wow, why is this message floating around on everybody that is anything to do with the Daybells, making videos, making YouTube, making podcasts? Why is this message going around? And basically it says the kids aren't alive. Whoever's writing this. And then they point out about the Reverend Donna Seraphina. She's the psychic that keeps popping up, and she supposedly did readings for some people in Joe's family, Joseph Ryan, and in Charles' family. But she's trying to lead people. I guess her daughter, she always had a connection to the spirit world, they said, but she had a daughter that died, and then she really honed in on her abilities to reach over to the other side. And her daughter's name is Nicole Lambert Cruz, and she was found deceased. She was only 26 years old. So Donna developed her skills to become a medium or a psychic or something like that. And they say she's very, very accurate. Now, I'm not a big, this is my disclaimer as Catherine, I am not a big believer in any of this stuff. And I have a hard time believing that it comes from God. I'm just putting that out there. But this person keeps posting this on comments on people that are following the Daybell case. And basically she says this Donna Seraphina is extremely accurate. She's been extremely compassionate for this case, and she's helping Tylee and JJ. She's been guided to learn information that will lead to the identity of a cabin owner that will lead the authorities. So she's been talking about this cabin, and I followed this. I've had people email me about it, and I've heard it a million times, and I've actually listened to Donna Seraphina explain this cabin. It's interesting. And after the whole Yellowstone thing, it sort of perked up my ears a little bit, like, what's up with this whole cabin thing, right? But she's made the readings very public, and they say that Donna Seraphina, the psychic, is trying to get people, she's trying to reach out to whoever owns this cabin so that they can go, oh, wait, this is my cabin. This is what they're talking about. So I'll put the link below in my description here about this. You can tell me what you think. I I don't know. I mean, goodness gracious, if it helped find them, that would be awesome. But this message has been going around. And, someone had pointed it out to me and I was like, And then the more I thought about it and read it, I was like, no, that message has been on my comments on my channel. And I've seen it on other comments on other people's channel. So for some reason, this person is really pushing this wherever Donna Seraphina is saying that these kids are, somewhere in a cabin. And she's really hoping that the owner of this cabin will hear this and remember that this is where and realize they're describing their cabin, and this is where Tylee and JJ would be found. I'm just giving you that because it was brought to my attention more than once, and I did read it on my comments here, and I can scroll back and look, but I'm not going to do that right now. But I do know that it's there, and I have seen it. So this is a reach out by a psychic forum or psychic people or people that are following Donna Seraphina Psychic and asking them to pass the message along because somebody will recognize this cabin, the cabin owner, somebody will recognize them and be able to find the children there, which I hate saying this because it just makes me really sad. All right. Well, that's it for tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll see you on Saturday on our live, unless something crazy happens between now and then. And I really hope it does because I really want this to be moved forward as soon as we possibly can get it to move forward. Thank you for watching. This has been an episode of Left Undone. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell for updates. And I'm Catherine. Stay safe, stay well, stay home for now. And I will talk to you soon.